scariest feeling, not having the air right there.
For Debbie Richards, every breath is precious.
The first time I had that happen where I couldn't breathe. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Where do I go to? And there was nothing, and you just gotta. Some days it feels like I've got my head in a bucket. And as I'm trying to breathe, I'm trying to breathe in water, but without the water. I'm trying to get the air that's in the water, but I can't because every time I'm just getting a wall. I'm getting a wall of water. I walked through the doors there from the taxi cab, and the nurse took one look at me and said she called for a stretcher. She knew I was in trouble breathing. I stayed the whole day at Mount Sinai with one doctor taking care of me, and sometime during the evening he come and he said to me, he said, "We've just diagnosed you with COPD. Do you know what that is?" And I said, "Not a clue."
I was slowing down. I didn't think I was slowing down. I couldn't keep up with my daughters anymore when walking, or my friends, and yet I was slight, and I had friends that weren't, and they could outwalk me no matter where we went. And I thought it's just middle age. Actually, a friend of mine said, "You need to go to a pulmonary specialist. You breathe way too hard." And at that time, I didn't even know what a pulmonary specialist was. He told me what I had, and that it was incurable, blah, 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 went on. And so then when I went out, my doctor was kind of devastated that I had a husband sitting outside and I hadn't brought him in with me.
No one was expecting anything like that. We thought it was some curable thing, so of course when you get news like that, you're shocked, eh? I don't know if we bought a six-pack or I had one in the back of my truck. We were going in, both of our daughters are figure skaters, eh? So we just found a spot up in the top in the arena and just had a couple of beer.
And I never drank beer, but I drank it that day.
After discovering her condition, Joanne's doctors sent her to Toronto to be examined by a specialist.
And the doctor then said within 3 to 5 years I would need lungs.
Joanne and her husband Steve relocated to Toronto together in late 2015, but for others, like Debbie, the journey for a new organ meant time away from their loved ones. Edmund, her husband of 45 years, stayed behind at their New Brunswick home until her condition worsened in March. Edmund is Debbie's support person and is responsible for getting her to all her hospital appointments. This also means that, if the call comes and her lungs become available, he's ready to get her to the hospital at a moment's notice. According to Debbie, moving to take part in the program can be extremely costly.
We come from a house that, costs us very little to run, for a month, and then we're down here and we're paying $2,000 a month rent. And the government will help you out a bit, and that's fine. But I mean, they don't add in parking, the extra cost of food, because it is more costly down here for food. Now I come here and my oxygen is double the price, and I still have to pay it myself. So it's that's a bit of a hassle. There should be more coverage. Now when I go back down east, if I'm 65 and I still need oxygen, they'll pay for it. The government will pay for it at that, but not at 62. You're not supposed to need oxygen at 62. It's going to cost us a whole lot of money after the operation is done. If you're lucky enough to have the transplant, it's going to cost you a lot of dollars for medicines, because you have to take anywhere from 4 on up for pills for rejection. So there's so many things that could happen.
Canada's organ transplant program has grown in both size and scope over recent years, but it still faces many challenges. Just 1% of Canadians who die will donate an organ. That's something groups like the Trillium Gift of Life Network are hoping to change. Ronnie Gavsey is the CEO of the program. Many organ donation advocates have voiced support for an opt-out system that presumes consent, but she says the answer isn't so simple.
All the research we've done has not exposed one jurisdiction where there is evidence that it's worked to increase donor numbers. Not one. We know, for example, that Spain has presumed consent, but it had presumed consent for years with very low donation rates. And it wasn't until it changed its infrastructure and put in place donation physicians and education that the donor numbers started to go up.
But Debbie says she thinks our system should presume consent, and that if you want to opt out, you should have to give a reason why.
I'd hate to make anybody do something they really didn't want to do. But first of all, you got to have a reason why you don't want to do it. Tell me what your reason is, and then I'll judge you by that. Tell me what the reason is that you don't want to do it. There should be no reason. That's what I have trouble with.
8 lives could be saved through organ donations. 75 lives could be saved through tissue donation. We link the values of their loved one with the value of giving someone a second chance at life. And we do that assuming that everyone will want to make a hero of their loved one.
So basically everybody else is going on with their life, everybody else going to school and stuff like that, while you're basically getting sicker and sicker, and all you can do is wait for somebody to step forward and be a donor.
Fatima says Canada's transplant program needs to focus on new methods for educating and communicating with the public.
There needs to be more like faces towards organ donation, right? More awareness and more like, communication about it, right? Because essentially a lot of people, it's taboo to talk about it, right? You don't talk about organ donation.
It's like a taboo. We don't talk about death in our culture and in our country. We don't like to deal with that. We don't want to talk about it. People seem to have a superstition. They don't want to write a will because then they're going to die.
First of all, this is not 1920 anymore. This is not, we talk about more disturbing things on TV than I've ever seen before. There's a problem, talk about it. Do I have to hide in my house to talk about it? No. Bring it out and talk about it.
I think that people should automatically be considered donors unless they choose not to, right? Because statistically, that's more chances of there to be more organ donation and more recipients getting their life saved than yeah.
Another person who thinks the federal government should expand the program to help increase donation rates is Conservative MP Ziad Abouteif.
As someone who has been an organ donor and who has seen the need firsthand in my family, I understand only too well how the lack of national coordination can sometimes lead to tragedy. A national registry will help save lives. I urge all members to support this bill and promote organ donations throughout Canada. Thank you.
We were waiting for the organ. We cannot leave Edmonton more than 1 hour driving. If we have to take a holiday, we cannot leave outside Edmonton more than 1 hour drive because we're waiting for the phone call and we're scared the phone call is going to come and we have to be at the hospital.
Abul Taif saw firsthand how the program helped immensely with increasing his son's quality of life.
My son could not eat regular food for the first years until we had an operation. So imagine, you start wondering, is he going to be able to like a burger or a steak or this vegetable or this fruit or this chocolate? You start wondering, is he going to have any taste of food or any desire to eat food after math?
Abul Taif proposed the bill because he says the current system isn't doing enough to help increase communication between provinces or update info on registered donors.
They need to improve their system, and they have to have target, and they have to have accountability. And if they cannot do it, then somebody has to do it.
Well, it certainly sounds like it would have helped. If you had that information, I mean, when somebody dies, if you want their organs, you need to know that right away. You can't wait and find that out on Monday morning. You need to find that out Saturday afternoon, so it would help in that way.
According to Abul Taif, many Liberal MPs who wanted to support the bill were told to vote against it.
Yeah, some of the MPs, I know maybe most of them they didn't want to, but they were told by the government, by the minister, that they should vote against it, should vote it down.
We reached out to the 14 Liberal MPs representing suburban Toronto, who all voted against the bill, but none responded to multiple requests for comment. While debates continue on a federal registry, another issue is subsidy rates. Provinces set their own individual rates for how much money they contribute to people like Debbie and Joanne, who are forced to move to be close to a transplant center.
I get $650 a month, and that's to help with accommodations of living down here. If you come from New Brunswick, you get about $1,200 a month. If you come from Newfoundland, you get even more than that. I think it's $13.
I had no idea there was a big difference like that. Not a clue.
In Ontario, the person responsible for setting subsidy rates is Eric Hoskins, Minister of Health and Long-Term Care. Hoskins did not respond to multiple requests for comment. For Joanne, the waiting is just as frustrating as uneven subsidy rates.
Why did I come down here a year and a half ago? If the waiting down here doesn't count for anything, then because you hate to put your health, to equate your health with your money, with finances, but at some point in time you have to be realistic. I'm wondering now, at a year and a half, how long do I have to best stay on this list? And do I have to get sicker? I'm already sick. Do I have to be down and out? Like, how long do I have to wait before I'm next in line?
Joanne's blood type is O positive, which means she has to compete with lots of people waiting for organs.
If you're O positive, you're a universal donor. I can give my blood, my lungs to anyone. So those people that are A blood type or a B blood type, they can stand in the O line as well. You follow me? So the lungs come up that are good for me. I have to compete with an A blood and a B blood person.
She wishes that there was more information available about how a person is prioritized within the program.
There's nothing written down that says, if you do this, you might get your lungs faster, or if you do this. I think it's the surgeon's decisions, and they know best. And they know I'm okay. And they don't care that I want to go home and sit in my backyard and check on my flowers. There's more important stuff to be done, I suppose.
It's very sad. You want there to be enough organ donors that everybody can get a transplant in time. And so it's always hard when people don't get their donor organs in time and don't survive to get a transplant.
Singer says the fact that organs someone needed were likely available somewhere, yet not donated, often crosses her mind.
We think about that all the time. The potential organ transplants that just weren't able to happen because organs that could have been donated weren't donated for whatever reason.
But for all the program's hardships, she says there's no better feeling than when a transplant works out.
It's fantastic. I don't think that there's too many things in medicine that provide, too many areas where you can really see such a dramatic effect of a treatment on somebody's quality of life.
Your days are, well, you have physio too. I do that 3 times a week from 2:30 to about 4 o'clock. And they have different hospital appointments for us to go to. In the next week, I think I had 5 to do.
At her physio sessions, Debbie uses a variety of machines to help keep her cardiovascular health up. Despite a constant commitment to her health, her oxygen levels have gradually declined over the past months due to her COPD progressing.
Now there's going to come a time where this nose piece is not going to work for me anymore, and it's getting close to that now. I'm going to have to use a whole mask.
But Debbie says that she's not giving up yet.
I don't want to die yet. It's plain sad. I'm not ready to die.
For Joanne, the 1.5 year wait in the city has taken its toll.
Emotionally, it's much more difficult living here. This isn't where I live. This isn't who I am. We've been displaced here in order to access health care, but we're not Torontonian people. We're not city people. We're trying to make good of what we have in being here, but this isn't how we choose to live.
And with no certainty or end in sight, she's left with questions, but no answers.
And now it looks like it should be your turn, but it's not. And no one can give you an explanation why it isn't. That's very, very disheartening, very hard to deal with. Is what makes me not next, or what makes me next? People tell you, oh, it's your lungs, it's your blood, and it's your cavity size. But it seems like, I don't know, just different people just come in there, got their lungs. And I just wish it was more in black and white, so I would know, okay, Joanne, you're going to wait another 3 years. Or if this happens, then you might only wait 2. Like, give me some parameters to know. Am I going to be here my 3rd Christmas? Tell me now.
Although Joanne says that she is here for the long run, sometimes she just wishes she could go home, something that the current policy does not allow.
Any person that's on the list for longer than a year, go home for a week. Go home and live your life and be who you are, and then come back feeling refreshed, feeling good again, like, let me go home. But no, you can't go home because my lungs might appear. Well, they haven't yet. What are the odds? If they're going to appear on the day that I go home, my luck, maybe they will.
She says that her biggest fear is that her new organ will reject.
That they won't take. Then you're in trouble. You have rejection, and then hope that you can get more. That's huge. So yeah, that's kind of scary.
That my dog won't remember me. I don't have a fear. I don't have a fear. How can you be afraid? I'm where I want to be. I'm doing what I want to do. You know, when somebody passes away, you always say, well, they did what they wanted to do their whole life. That is so much BS. It's just, how could you know what went on in that person's life? How can you know they did what they actually wanted to do? I can tell you today, right now, I am doing what I want to do. This is your story. Somebody told me that, and I couldn't understand what they meant. What do you mean this is my story? You know, it's the same story for everybody, but it's not. It's not. This is your story. You know, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I will see it through the end. No question there.
For the Ryerson Documentary Unit, I'm Trevor Hewitt.